Hey guys, today I decided to do another video on just one car, that being the Pontiac GTO. This is such an iconic muscle car, and it helped muscle car culture become popular in America. I'm going to be walking you through every generation of the car in this video from start to finish. With that being said, let's start the video. In 1963, General Motors banned its divisions from involvement in motor racing. Since Pontiac managers could not work on racing cars, they decided to focus their efforts on street performance, leading to one of the most well-known muscle cars of all time, the Pontiac GTO. The three people behind this car were Russ Gee, Bill Collins, and John DeLorean, the latter of which would go on to create the DeLorean DMC-12. The GTO's name actually came from the Ferrari 250 GTO, which was a well-known racing car of the time. With that, let's move on to the first generation of the Pontiac GTO. The first generation of the Pontiac GTO was introduced in 1963 as an optional package for the Pontiac Le Mans. This package at the time was $295, which amounts to around $2,900 today. It came with features such as redline tires, chromed valve covers, and a Hurst shifter. This generation of the GTO was available in two-door hardtop, convertible, and coupe body styles. The engine choices were the 389 cubic inch V8, which made 325 horsepower, as well as the 400 V8, which made 335. There were 4 transmission options that the first gen GTO had, those being 3 and 4-speed manuals, as well as 2 and 3-speed automatics. This car also had things like a limited slip differential, heavy-duty cooling, and a handling package. Sales of the first generation Pontiac GTO were very good, totaling about 178,668 units. This is possibly the most iconic generation of the Pontiac GTO. The exterior was visibly different on this one, having horizontal headlights as opposed to the last gen, as well as other changes. The powertrain options for this generation were pretty much the same as the 1967 model, although the stock engine's power was up to 350 horsepower. One unique feature the car had was body color Endura bumpers, as well as the tachometer being on the hood outside of the car. The Ram Air 2 package was introduced mid-1968, in which the car got a round port exhaust, the 041 cam, and freer breathing cylinder heads. The redline tires from the last gen continued on as standard. The engine options for this generation of the GTO were Pontiac's 6.6-liter 400 cubic inch V8, as well as a 428 7.5-liter V8 engine. There were only 3 transmission options, those being 3 and 4-speed manuals, as well as a 3-speed automatic. In 1969, a new model, the Judge, was introduced. This trim was named after a comedy routine that was frequently used by comedian Flip Wilson on the Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In TV show. It was $332 more than the regular GTO, with features like a Hurst shifter, wider tires, a rear spoiler, and Judge decals. This car was originally only offered in the carousel red color, but was eventually made available in other colors. There was also a convertible GTO Judge model that was made for a few years starting in 1969, after the GTO reverted back to a Le Mans package. These are very rare since there was only a few hundred made. The total number of regular GTOs made in this generation is about 165,000, while the Judges are significantly more uncommon to see, with 10,819 made. This generation of the GTO was only produced for 1 year in 1973. This car was made during the oil crisis that took place in the 70s, so car manufacturers were starting to downsize around this time, since interest in cars with big engines was dissipating. The GTO package was still just an option on the A-body Le Mans, and not its own car. It could be had in 2 variations, those being Le Mans Sport Coupe and the base Le Mans Coupe. The Le Mans Sport Coupe was the more luxurious option, with things like an all-vinyl interior and strato bucket seats, and this generation was only available in the hardtop coupe body style. Some of the features this car had were new hood ducts and heavier chrome front and rear bumpers. The engine options for this generation were the 400 cubic inch 6.6 liter V8, which made 230 horsepower, and the optional 455 7.5 liter V8, which made just 250 horsepower. There was talk of putting in the 455 Super Duty V8 from the Trans Am, but that option never came to fruition. Transmission options were 3 and 4 speed manuals, as well as a 3-speed automatic. This generation of the GTO was generally not very well received by the public, and sales for this year dropped to just 4,806, mostly due to lack of promotion of the car as well as other things. This generation of the GTO was built on the even smaller X-body platform. During this time, Pontiac wanted to try to move into the compact muscle market, which was populated by cars like the AMC Hornet X and Ford Maverick Grabber. Because of this, the GTO became an option on the compact Pontiac Ventura. It was available in 2-door coupe and 2-door hatchback coupe body styles. You could get the GTO package on both the base Ventura and Ventura Custom. The base Ventura had rubber floor mats and bench seats, but things like bucket seats and power steering could be optioned in. The GTO package was $461 and included things like a 3-speed manual with a Hurst floor shifter, a shaker hood, special grille, new heavy-duty front and rear suspension, wing mirrors, and GTO badging on various parts of the car. The only engine option you could get was a 350 cubic inch 5.7 liter V8, which made 200 horsepower and 295 pound-foot of torque. The transmission options for this generation were the same as the last year, being 3 and 4-speed manuals, as well as a 3-speed automatic. Most people were not very impressed by the new GTO, especially since it got a 0 to 60 time of 9.5 seconds. Sales were better than the previous year, but still not great, with 7,058 units sold. Interest was declining, and people were largely moving on from muscle cars. This would be the last GTO for a while. In 1999, a Pontiac GTO concept would be unveiled at the Detroit Auto Show. It had vintage Coke bottle styling, as well as styling cues from every generation of the GTO. This was only meant to be a design study and wasn't intended for production. The name would lie dormant for another 5 years. This brings us to the 5th and final generation of the Pontiac GTO. In 2004, a new generation of the GTO would be revealed to the public. This one was built on the V-body platform and was only available in the coupe body style. It was a rebadge of the Australian Holden Monaro muscle car. This car was also rebadged 2 more times in the form of the British Vauxhall Monaro VXR and the Chevrolet Lumina coupe from the Middle East. GM North America chairman Bob Lutz initiated the revival after he had read a car and driver review of the Holden Commodore SS. The GTOs from 2004 to 2006 were assembled in Australia and got things like GTO stitching on the seats, new badging, a revised exhaust system, and some new packages, those being the W40 and Sport Appearance packages. The engine options that were available were the 5.7-liter LS1 V8, which made 350 horsepower, and the 6.0-liter LS2 V8, which made 400 horsepower. The transmission options were a 6-speed manual and 4-speed automatic. For the 2004 model year, performance was good, with a top speed of 160 miles per hour and a 0 to 60 time of 5.0 seconds. It was even better for the 2005 to 6 model years, with a top speed of 180 miles per hour and a 0 to 60 time of 4.8 seconds. In 2006, GM halted imports of the GTO due to it not meeting 2007 airbag deployment standards. The total number for all 3 years of this generation of the GTO was 40,808 cars. 4 years later, in 2010, General Motors would cease production of all Pontiac vehicles due to the recession. And that is the Pontiac GTO for you guys. I really enjoyed making this video and doing the research for it since I really like muscle cars. Make sure to like and subscribe for more if you enjoyed, and let me know what you guys want to see next on this channel. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.